52.
Thank you, Judge. No
Thank
problem.
you, Mr. Chernoff. We redirect, Mr. Walgren?
No further questions.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
May Mr. Williams step down subject to recall, Mr. Walgren?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Chernoff?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, give me a moment.
Yes,
Please
sir.
don't discuss your testimony or the facts of the case with any other witnesses until we finish the trial. You may step down and leave. However, you are to remain on call, and you're subject to recall up until the end of the trial if necessary. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're excused. The people may call their next witness.
Thank you. May we approach, Your Honor?
You may. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. People will call Fahim Muhammad to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please be seated. Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
Fahim Muhammad, Faheem Muhammad.
Muhammad, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Let me
sir.
provide you with some instructions, which are instructions I give to every witness in every case. The first of which is to please sit back and relax. The second of which is to speak in a loud voice so all of us can hear you. The third of which is to answer questions yes or no if it's called for, rather than using slang or which can be really tricky. And the fourth of which is to wait until you hear an entire question before you even start to answer it. In our daily lives, a lot of interrupting each other because we think we know what the answer is going to be before the question's asked. But in court, we need to wait for the entire question and then respond. Is that all right?
Yes.
Thank you. Direct by the people,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Walgren.
May I have one moment?
You may.
Your Honor? Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Muhammad, I want to take your attention back to June of 2009. At that time, where did you work?
For Michael Jackson, sir.
And what did you do for Michael Jackson in June 2009?
I worked his security for him.
I'm sorry?
I worked security for him. Security.
Okay. And in June of 2009, at that point in time, how long had you worked security for Mr. Jackson?
Approximately 10 months.
And what were your responsibilities?
I was the chief of his security, so my responsibilities ranged from making sure his house was protected, making sure his children were protected, and making sure his day-to-day activities and movement was all safe and planned and mapped out.
And where did you operate it out of? Were you generally housed in the trailer on site?
Yes, sir.
Okay. if Michael wanted to go shopping or something, would you be part of the planning and the transportation to do something like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And would you typically deal with Mr. Jackson directly, or would you deal with Mr. Jackson typically through Michael Amir Williams?
Typically through Michael Amir Williams.
And when you came on about 10 months before June 2009, did you come into employment as chief of security, or were you working in a different capacity, or
Driving.
initially as a driver?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you were you promoted to chief of security?
Yes, sir. Basically, yes, sir.
Okay. And were you working security then on basically a daily basis, and let's say from the period of April, May, and June of 2009?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sometime around March of 2009, did you meet Michael Jackson's personal doctor, Conrad Murray?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you see that person in court here today?
Yes, sir.
Could you identify that individual, please?
Sure, sure.
And describe what he's wearing, please.
Gray suit, gold tie, looks to be blue shirt.
Indicating the defendant, Dr. Murray.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Muhammad, where did you first meet or first see Conrad Murray?
At Mr. Jackson's house.
Were you ever introduced to him, or was it you just saw him around, or what were the circumstances when you first saw him?
I don't recall before I was introduced, but I do believe eventually I was introduced to him.
Okay. And then during these months of, let's say, April, May, and June, would you see Dr. Murray at the house with regularity?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that in the nighttime?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, was he staying overnight just about every night during that period of time?
Yes, sir.
And would you see his vehicle at the location overnight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know what kind of vehicle that was?
It was a silver 645 BMW.
Okay. Showing me people's 11 for identification. Is that the defendant's vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Time, did you know why Dr. Murray was coming to the house and spending the night? Did you know any details as to why he was doing that?
No, sir.
Were you aware of, or did you personally see oxygen tanks being moved around the premises or into the security trailer?
Yes, sir.
What did you personally see in regard to these oxygen tanks?
I seen the oxygen tanks in the trailer. I seen Dr. Murray bring the oxygen tanks. I just was be seeing them being moved in and out, basically.
Okay, by Dr. Murray?
Dr. Murray, sometimes he would bring them to the back door, and the security would just bring them into the guards that were on duty, that were always present. They kind of knew the routine better than myself because they were always there when he would do it. But I would see him maybe bring them to the back door, and they carried them inside the trailer.
Okay. And this was during the time that Dr. Murray regularly at the home?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I want to take you directly to June 24th, 2009.
Okay.
Were you involved at that time in arranging and transporting Mr. Jackson to the Staples Center for his last rehearsal?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall what time you left to go to the Staples Center?
Around 7 o'clock, sir.
In the p.m.?
PM. Yes, sir.
And were you typically the driver on these types of outings?
Yes, sir.
Were you the driver that night?
Yes, sir.
And who traveled with you?
Myself, Michael Amir, and Mr. Jackson.
And when you arrived at the location at Staples Center, what occurred when you first got there?
Our normal routine, We came in down low. Our advance team met us with golf carts. It was a long walk from where we were parked to Mr. Jackson's private room. So they met us with golf carts. We loaded up on the carts and we moved out to his room.
Okay. So you would come into the subterranean area of the Staples Center?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And someone from the advance team would meet you in a golf cart?
Yes, sir.
Would that typically be Alberto Alvarez?
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
would.
And then through the basically the subterranean tunnels of the Staples Center, they would take him in the golf cart to his own personal dressing room?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what happened that night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, after Mr. Jackson was taken to prepare for rehearsals, what did you do?
We would normally set up a slight perimeter. So they had a couple different emergency exits and doors that weren't all the way covered that we would sit guys in the perimeter of. And then we also had our own room that we would go to, and we had our own treats, snacks, just different things, television. So I would usually set up the security, set up a rotation, and then I would take a break for a while and then come back in and relieve the other security.
Okay. And is that what you did that night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On that night, June 24th, 2009, were you able to observe any of the rehearsals?
Yes, sir, I did.
And from where were you able to observe the rehearsals?
A couple different locations, in the stands, on the floor. And there was actually a monitor that we could see the stage from in a different part. So about 3 different places I observed Mr. Jackson's performance.
Okay. And how would you describe the performance that night?
It was excellent. It was high energy. He looked pretty good.
Okay. Now, following, do you know what time you prepared to transport Mr. Jackson home that evening?
Yes, sir. It was around midnight.
Okay. And was it the same routine that you described?
Yes, yes, sir, it was. The advance team would leave and, give us a clear route, and we would take the same route that they took back to the house.
Okay. And you drove?
Yes, sir.
And were you accompanied by Mr. Williams and
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Jackson?
Yes, sir.
And at some point, either before leaving Staples Center or maybe en route, was a call made to Conrad Murray in your house at 100 North Carrollwood?
When we arrived back, there were fans. The fans, they would normally beat us there. So we pulled to the gate, and he asked us to stop so that he can take some time to speak with his fans. So he spoke with his fans for maybe 60 seconds. As the gate opened, you can see the same vehicle parked in the same fashion.
Now, you just pointed to People's 11. You're referring to Conrad
Yes, sir.
Murray's car?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, as the gate opens, what you're looking at is a direct shot of the gate opening. So when the gate opens, that's what you see. So we see Dr. Murray's car there, and then we went ahead to pull around and park at the front door.
Okay. And you said he told us to stop to talk to the fans. Were you talking, Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Jackson, yes, sir.
Okay. And you arrived around approximately 1 o'clock a.m.?
Yes, sir.
And what did you do then upon pulling in onto the actual property, the area 11?
Well, the fans, they normally would give him gifts, letters, various items. So we would take the gifts from the car. Michael Amir would get his door, and I would usually gather all the gifts along. If there was too much, other security would help out. And we would take the gifts and place them at his steps. And he would greet us before he went upstairs, good night, or whatever he would say. And then we would see each other off from there.
Okay. And is that what happened that night?
Yes, sir.
So things were carried into the house
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We carried the gifts into the house.
and left at the base of the stairs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then greeted each other good night? And,
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then what'd you do?
And then we had a security debriefing for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. And then those of us that were relieved, we relieved ourselves and we went on home.
Okay. And were you relieved? Were you at the end of your duty at that
Yes,
time?
sir. I
Okay.
was.
Home?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the next day then, June 25th, 2009, did you return to 100 North Carrollwood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And about what time did you return?
About 11:45.
And what did you do when you got there?
Same routine. When I got there that day, I came in the gate, checked on the guard that was facing the gate, went around, checked with the guards in the security trailer, just asked the basic questions of any activities going on. And at that time, I left after that.
Okay.
AM or PM?
AM. Yes, sir.
And you said you left after that. You left the property.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so this is around noon then.
Close to noon. Yes, sir.
Okay. And why'd you leave the property?
I had to make a run to the bank. So
And did you drove?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then while driving to the bank, did you receive a telephone call?
Yes, I did.
And from whom?
From Michael Lemire.
Okay. And what did he say?
He said MJ had a bad reaction, or maybe he said MJ had a bad reaction, and he said MJ had a bad reaction, go upstairs. And I told him that I wasn't at the house. I had just made a run to the bank, and he said, okay, well, hurry up and get back and go upstairs.
Okay. And would you, security personnel and others, sometimes refer to Mr. Jackson as MJ?
Yes, sir.
So you told Mr. Williams you're on your way to the bank. Did you indicate that you'd turn around and go back to the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that what you did?
Yes.
You have a copy of the summary of phone records of Fahim Muhammad. It has been shown to defense counsel. May this be marked People's next in order. I believe it's People's 18.
It is.
And Mr. Muhammad, before testifying here today, did you have a chance to look at your phone records?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you have a chance to compare your phone records to this summary that was marked People's 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did this reflect the phone calls that appear on your in your phone records?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you first about the phone call you received. Actually, let me make a correction here. One moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
I changed the AM to PM. Let me show you this again. The first call at 12:16 p.m. Do you see that call, Mr. Muhammad?
Yes.
And it's from a Michael Amir, from Mr. Williams to you for 29 seconds. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And is that the phone call you just referenced where Mr. Williams asked you to go upstairs and you indicated you were going to the bank?
Yes.
And you indicated you were going to return home and return back to Carrollwood?
Yes.
Okay. The next call at 12:18 p.m., it's you calling Derek Cleveland. Is he another security guard?
Yes. Yes. After Michael called me and said it was I should rush upstairs, and since I wasn't there, I wanted to call someone else to do that. So I called Derek, and I asked him to rush upstairs and tell him that I was on my way back. I'd be there shortly.
Okay. What did you got a hold of Derek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I get a hold of Derek? Yes, sir. I believe I did.
Was it a voicemail or?
Yeah, I believe. I don't recall actually. I
Okay.
don't recall if I actually spoke to him, honestly.
Okay. Could it have been a voicemail?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then when you drove back to the house,
Right.
okay. Did you pull back onto the property?
No, I didn't pull back onto the property. I
Okay.
pulled up to the gate,
Okay.
and it was a pin code. And I just typed in the pin code and went inside. I walked inside.
Okay. And did you go in? So you walked in onto the property,
Yes.
and then did you call Mr. Williams at that time at 12:20?
Yes, I did. As I said, we don't normally go upstairs at his house. So when I got back to the property, I started to just walk in the house, but that was so that was so not a part of our routine that I said, let me double check. So I called Michael Murray back, and I just double checked with him and said, are you sure you want me to go ahead and go in and go upstairs? He said, yes, go inside, go upstairs, see what's going on.
Okay. And that's reflected here in the 12:23 p.m. phone call from Fahim Mohammed to Michael Amir Williams, lasting 11 seconds.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's a number, well, let me ask you, after you got the approval that, yes, go upstairs, did you do so, enter the house and go upstairs?
Yes.
Okay. And then there's a number of, a couple of phone calls at 12:26 and 12:27 where Michael Amir is calling you and showing 0 seconds each. I assume those were calls that you did not answer?
Yeah.
And then later at 12:35, a call from Michael Amir Williams for a minute 36 seconds.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you then, after the 12:23 phone call, you then enter the house. What did you do? Did you go upstairs?
Yes. I went upstairs and through the landing into his bedroom.
Okay. When you say into his bedroom, which room as you go upstairs?
If you travel up the stairs, there's a room to your left, and then there's a room to your right. I went to the room on the right.
You have a series of exhibits here I'd like to mark, Your Honor. These have all previously been shown to defense counsel.
I'm sorry, repeat, please.
I'm sorry, these have all previously been shown to defense counsel. There's a diagram of the second floor of the residence. May that be marked People's 19?
Just do them in order, and I'll mark them at the end.
Okay. You want a description of each one, Your Honor?
Please.
Top of the stairs looking out onto the upper floor landing area, People's 20. A view into the bedroom, People's 21. A close-up view of the bed and the nightstand area, People's 22. And a view of the side of the bed, nightstand area, and chair depicting an ambu bag on the floor, People's 20.
Tw 19 through 23, respectively.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mohammed, can you see the diagram from where you're seated?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see where I'm pointing to the left, lower left of the diagram, representing the stairs that come up onto the second floor landing area? Do you recognize that area?
Yes.
Okay. And as you would come up this landing area onto the second floor, immediately to your left are doors going into a bedroom. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Was that, if you know?
That was actually his bedroom where where all of his belongings were at.
Michael Jackson's?
Michael Jackson's, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, as you come up onto the landing then, if you don't go left, but rather you veer more to the right and go forward into what's marked foyer, second floor bedroom number 2, is that the bedroom that you proceeded into?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And looking then at People's 20, does this represent again the topmost section of the stairs coming up onto the landing and showing the doors into the foyer area of the room that you entered?
Yes.
All right. People's 21, can you describe what is shown there?
That is the room that I walked into. where I seen Mr. Jackson laying dead at.
Okay. And let me ask you, when you first came then into the foyer area, you would turn right to have the vantage point we see in People's 21, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then People's 22 would be the same view, same vantage point, but more upon actually entering the room. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you came in up through the foyer and into the room, showing the bed here, the nightstands on the opposing side, what did you see when you first came?
When I came into the room, I saw Alberto standing up, kind of pacing. I saw Mr. Jackson's feet near the side of the bed on the ground. And as I continued to walk over, I could see the rest of his body. And I saw Dr. Murray near his side.
Okay. And you have a pointer there. If you can point on People's 22 where it was that you saw Michael Jackson.
You can't, the way the picture is, you can't see. I can show you, this is where his feet would be. His body was like this. His
On the
feet
bed
right
or
here.
on the floor?
On the floor.
Okay, let me give you another photograph.
Okay.
But for the record, you've indicated, so as you come into the room and look into the room, you saw Michael Jackson's feet on what would be the far side of the bed. Okay. And they're extending out onto the floor area from your vantage point at the foot of the bed.
Yes.
Okay. But on the floor.
On the floor.
Okay. And showing you People's 23 then, does that show that far side of the bed and the general floor area?
Yes.
Okay. And does this depict generally where Michael Jackson's body was?
Yes.
Okay. So again, when you first came in and you saw Mr. Jackson's feet, where was Dr. Murray?
Dr. Murray was to his right, on the opposite side of him, near the far side of the bed on the other side.
Okay. And can you point, looking at People's 22, can you point just to the general area?
Right around here.
Okay. And switch.
Please, Mr.
Yes.
Wall.
On People's 22, you pointed to the nightstand area on the far side of the bed?
Yes.
Okay. Which is again reflected in People's 23. Would that be this nightstand that I'm pointing at here directly next to the bed on the far side of the bed?
Yes.
Okay. Did Alberto Alvarez say anything to you when you first came into the room?
Yes. I said something to him. I asked him, how's it looking, or how's it going? And he said, it's not looking good. And then I proceeded to go and look at Mr. Jackson.
Okay. And then when you came around, well, let me ask you, did you come around then to this far side of the bed that you've described?
Yes.
Okay. And when you came around to the far side of the bed, what was Conrad Murray doing?
He appeared to be administering CPR. He appeared very nervous. He was on his side. He was sweating. And he appeared to be administering CPR.
Okay. And at that time, did you see Michael Jackson's face and his full body?
Yes.
And what did you observe about his face at that time?
That his eyes were open and that his mouth was slightly open.
Okay. Did he appear to be dead?
Yes.
At that point, did you observe any medical equipment, any type of monitoring equipment, heart monitors, anything of that nature hooked up to Mr. Jackson?
No, sir.
As you came around then and saw Dr. Murray to Michael's side, what did you do? Or what happened next?
Immediately was shocked just seeing him. Shortly after that, I realized that his children were standing outside of his room, of course in a panic state as well. Not all three, just the two older ones, Paris and Prince. So after that, I went and gathered his children, got the nanny, and got them into a more secure location where they couldn't see kind of what was going on.
Okay. Looking again at People's 19, and just to orient everyone to People's 19, when you described the nightstands and the far side of the bed, on People's 19, is this area I'm pointing to, which as you come in the foyer would be the far side of the bed, near the head of the bed?
Yes.
Okay. And again, just to orient to the diagram, when you first saw Michael Jackson laying on the floor, appearing dead, you said his feet, would they be roughly on this diagram where the 2 is for second floor bedroom number 2?
Yes.
Okay. So as you came around then to this far side and saw Michael on the floor and Conrad Murray to his side, where were Prince and Paris when you first observed them?
They were in this area right here. They weren't quite inside of the room. They were right in this landing area.
Okay. So what's your attention to them? Could you hear them?
Yes. Paris was on the ground, balled up, crying, and Prince was he was standing there, and he just had a real shock, just slowly crying type of look on his face.
So Paris was actually on the floor?
Yes.
You said balled up, crying?
Yes. And
what did you do then? And so as you hear them and you come out and see them in this condition, what did you do?
I went and gathered them together and kind of talked to them for a second, got the nanny's attention from the stairway, got her to come up, and we walked them downstairs and put them in a different location.
Now, at some point, either prior to that or thereabout, had Conrad Murray asked you and Alberto Alvarez if you knew CPR?
Yes.
Okay. Response to that, did one of you go over to Michael Jackson?
Yes, Alberto did.
Okay. And did you see Alberto go over and assist Dr. Murray with CPR?
Yes.
Was that before you went out to move Paris and Prince?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, yes, it was. It was when I initially entered the room and I spoke with Alberto. I saw Mr. Jackson's body, and I came back and I was speaking with Alberto. This all had to be within a matter of 60 seconds. Shortly, Dr. Murray asked the question, "Does anyone know CPR?"
Okay. And then that's when Alberto went over to assist?
Yes.
And then following that is when you heard the children, or at least Paris, crying, and you went.
Yes.
Okay. And you went to move them?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you actually take them all the way downstairs? Did you ask the nanny to come get them? What did you do?
No, when the nanny came, I actually walked down the stairs with him.
Oh, with the 2 children?
Yes.
Okay. And did you then go back upstairs?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went back upstairs, if you recall, what was taking place? Or was it the same?
It was the same thing. Alberto was no longer assisting with the CPR, though. Dr. Murray was just by itself at that point, and Alberto was just back to the same position, just standing up, kind of pacing around, which is all waiting for the ambulance.
Okay. And actually, when you had come in, had you asked Alberto if 911 had been called?
Yes, that was the first question I asked.
And did he tell you that 911 had been called?
Yes, he did.
Okay. That was the first question you asked?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you have reason to leave the room again then to get the vehicles ready or things of that nature?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. What did you do in that regard?
After I came back up and I realized After I came back up, Alberto was pacing around. Dr. Murray was on the ground trying to do what he was trying to do. I realized that it's a possibility that the ambulance could take some time. So I went back downstairs. I got the securities that were on guard, and I had them line the vehicles up just in case. We might have to take them ourselves.
Okay. And then shortly thereafter, did the paramedics arrive?
Yes,
Okay. And who escorted them up into the room?
I did.
And were you in the room as the paramedics attempted to revive Mr. Jackson, or were you in and out? Or just please describe your activities during that time.